Browns offensive line. There's a lot of parts on this line, guys, that might be looked at as interchangeable. Maybe we can move someone from guard to tackle. Maybe you solve the tackle dilemma with the guy that's currently there. Jenkins was an all-pro guard. We know he's a great player. But Munkenberry and Schweitzer all mentioned that this guy, even though he's an all-pro guard, didn't specifically say that that's where he's going to be slotted in. So it makes you start thinking, are they thinking that maybe they move him to tackle? Maybe center becomes their primary need in the draft? What are you guys thinking about what the Browns are thinking with their offensive line? What's their plan?
Well, I think when you look at it, I think the way I look at it, and I think teams may start to look at offensive linemen, are a collection of skill sets that you can utilize at different positions at different points in time. In layman's terms, you just need a bunch of bodies over there. The more a guy can be versatile in terms of, can you play guard, can you play tackle, can you play center, some of these guys are going to get hurt. The one thing that we know, given the data, is you're not going to have the same offensive line from the game 1 to the 17 weeks. You're not going to have that. It's not available. Somebody's going to be injured. So do the pieces and parts do you have enough Swiss Army knives that can come in, give you reps over here, and you don't have a dramatic drop-off? Is something that is advantageous, especially when you're looking to build an offensive line roster. To me, I've always said, there is not, in this draft, unfortunately, the Browns have 2 first-round picks. I just don't think that there's very many upper blue-chip caliber players at positions that they really need. So when you look at the draft, Monroe Freeling has great athleticism. He's raw and still might be a project that needs to be developed. You look at Caden Proctor. You have weight issues and concerns, whether or not he's able to move and bend to get some of these pass rushers. You got Miller. He's a right tackle from Clemson. People are saying, hey, well, maybe he might be suited for a guard. So for me, I think what they're going into the situation and doing is finding the most versatile guy. That guy might be a guard. You may grab 2 receivers. You may grab the best available on the board and then figure out to fill in guard or center. And you still got guys like DeJuan Jones and Tevin Jenkins who have played other positions. So to me, they can do a lot of things. Do I think it's necessarily a tackle? No. That's why I'm not on the record telling people what I would freak out for if they went with, because at this point, it could be a lot of different things, especially if there's no trade down available.
I think that's interesting to hear you put it that way about the talent available at the positions they need. This isn't a whack-a-mole draft for the Browns. They've had drafts like that where, we've got 8 needs and we got to, you fill this one and then another one pops up. I feel like the defense is secure and shored up. Could they use some pieces? I'm sure they could love to maybe get a linebacker to provide some more depth there.
Maybe a nickel.
But I also feel like, and you said this about last year, like, why are we drafting defensive guys? When we know what we need. I feel like this year, this is what teams love to have happen. We know where we're weak. We know exactly where we're weak. The problem is, G, and you touched on this, this doesn't appear to be a draft that's dripping with talent at offensive line and wide receiver. Are there guys there? Yeah, there are. Are there guys there that you could take and feel somewhat comfortable about, that knowing you're going to get some production? But when you're taking 6, you need to get a difference maker.
Right.
You need to get a Pro Bowl wide receiver at number 6. That's just what you have to find. Most years, if you draft a wide receiver 6, he's going to develop into a Pro Bowl wide receiver. But I don't know that that's the case this year. And Jason was saying in the break, one of the things that, and I don't mean to steal your thunder, but it's also where I was thinking, and I am not an advocate of trading down, because we do it a lot, and it always makes me mad. It's because what I was, trading down is like your parents come downstairs for Christmas morning and they say, guys, we moved it to January 11th. Like, whoa. I've been looking forward to the 25th. I've been looking forward to this since Thanksgiving. Now you're telling me I've got to wait until January 11th to open my present?
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're risking getting that gift even if it's not the one that you most need or can most help you. I think the prudent thing this year to do would be to investigate what they could get by packaging things, moving down, even if it's for next year's draft. Jason, you've convinced me that this is a let's win in a couple years from now project. It's all about moving into the new stadium. It's not about 2026. If that's the case, then almost gentleman's punt on the draft. Build a bunch of assets for next year and hope that the pieces that you're looking for are there next year, because I don't know that they're there this year.
All right, I don't want to derail this whole thing. Mike, you had something.
Yeah,
I have a
real quick
question,
before
but you go
Before
ahead.
we pivot. So, G, based off what you just said and based off a lot of the projections of this draft, there may not be a left tackle worth drafting at 6. So if the Browns are picking and choosing needs, and I like your commentary on, the offensive line now is, do you have 5 bodies? Let's figure out where they best fit together. There is more value on the interior in rounds 2 and 3 than maybe there would be in that second wave of tackles after the first round. Titus Howard, the player they traded for, has primarily played right tackle, has also played guard, has played a little left tackle in his career. You have Jenkins, Tevin, who played left tackle, then got moved into guard. You have Elgton Jenkins, who's played guard and center. You still have Whipple. You still have DeJuan Jones. I guess my question is, if they don't find the value at left tackle, could they – I'm going to use the word jerry-rig, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but can they just mix and match to move the best current guy they have to left tackle and then maybe draft a center or maybe draft another guard? Or is that –
I don't think it works
Is that
way.
missing the whole point of how they should build this
I
offensive
just think
line?
that the left tackle, above all the other ones, I do think the other ones are, for the most part, interchangeable. I just think you're either a left tackle or you're not, because that one is that's the unique position on the offensive line. That's where, you're protecting your quarterback's blind side. And we've seen what that looks like before, guys. We've seen them play guys at left tackle that aren't left tackles, and it doesn't end well.
Well, Andrew said it when we got him on the record at the Combine, like he's not hung up on right versus left. And
Clearly, I know he's not.
And they tried moving Jed, and we know how that
How'd
ended.
that go?
But you can't use one example as that's the way it's always going to be. Although the one time that this group tried it did not end well.
No.
Now, I would say this. To me, it's all about what your offensive line coach believes. Now, offensive line coaches are highly skilled, and they're way more important because, if you have a receiver and your receiver's coach, there may be the difference between an outside receiver and a slot receiver. Yes, that's true. Or if you're a defensive line coach, you may have a difference between a defensive tackle and defensive end. But when you got an offensive line coach, these guys have tackles. Left tackle and right tackle are different. Center is completely different. And you have 2 guards. So they teach a multitude of positions. You will lean heavily on your offensive line coach to look at these guys and evaluate to say, does this guy have the requisite skill sets to move on from the left side, right side, wherever mix and match and how you want to move with it? If they say Titus Howard is projected to be better than anybody we can get in the draft at left tackle, even though he's a right tackle, you have to think, okay, well, maybe my choice is let me get a guard then. And some people may say, well, I ain't taking no guard in the first round. Well, it all depends on what you have and where you got other guys that can fit in, because if you got a guard that I can make a decision on that's a day one starter and you think Titus Howard can get it done at the left side, it gives you an opportunity to then go, because what you want to do at that point, Jay, is you may need to get 2 receivers to give you the one that you actually want. Let me explain. Maybe Cardinal Tate ain't special, right? But you do believe that he's better than what you got at Cedric Tillman, and it raises your floor up a little bit. And then you go and say, all right, well, if I can get a guard in the second round, I might have to get me another guy like Casey Concepcion or Zachariah Branch that can give me special teams play and is going to be a dynamic slot receiver. And those two guys combined in the offense that I got can give me something that maybe together would be an elite receiver at 6. So that covers up for the fact that Cardinal Tate may not be dynamic and you could get the guard. So there are different ways you can skin a cat, but they're going to have to get creative because for most people, it's only 3 blue chip players in this draft. One of them is a quarterback, which you're probably not going to get. And another one is, you're dealing with defensive guy.
I'm just surprised. 2 minutes. I'm just really surprised because I said last year, this team ain't going anywhere. Don't worry about this season. Their focus is not on this season. And everybody went crazy every time I said that. And now everyone's like, well, This team's not very good. They're not going to be very good.
Well, no,
Planning for
you
the
were saying
future.
last year was this all about 2029.
Well, it's all
You were
about opening
kicking-
the dome, yeah.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
but
and
but
I-
you have to have a product on the field by 27 to sell for 29.
But let me ask
And
you,
I still believe that's true.
but let me ask you this question, because I do believe, like, yeah, that sounds great, but I believe that when they moved on from Kevin Stefanski, that put the onus and pressure on Andrew Berry. I don't believe necessarily Andrew Berry can come out here and if the team plays terrible, that he's necessarily has job security.
I don't think so either. Like, this draft is an enormous draft
Yes,
for him.
he has to hit on these.
Jimmy has basically said he's got to do again what he did last year. And I've not gotten the impression that this is a great draft at the top. But to their point and to their credit, like, we weren't talking about Carson Schlesinger. Nobody ever mentioned Carson Schlesinger. So he's got to go find those guys that we aren't talking about, that we will be talking about 6 months from now. This is a massive draft for that. I'm just surprised at just sort of the shift that every time I said it, everybody got so mad. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. This isn't a good football team. The Deshaun contract sunk them. This is the reality of where they are. You may not like it. This is just the reality. And now it feels like more people are coming around to, well, this just isn't a very good team, and
here's
this
why
year isn't the focus.
But he has to hit though this
Here's
year.
why I like to push back on the, well, we're gonna suck. And it's March, April. The reason I push back on that is 2 years ago, the New England Patriots were exactly where we were. Exactly.
Yeah.
They had the same exact record. They were a bad football team. And this year they made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
1 year. And so I can't accept this notion that, well, you're just going to have to survive at the bottom of the talent pool for another 5 years.
No.
But Jay, I think inside the organization, I think that is their mentality.
Oh, 100% is.
And I just think that is, I said it at the time, I'm going to repeat it. That's a loser's mentality. Do you think Robert Kraft was sitting in Boston saying, well, it's just going to be 5 years?
But
no, he didn't. He went out and found a coach who was a culture difference maker. They had their quarterback, which is the biggest piece of it.
Well, they found their quarterback at the end of a really bad stretch.
Right,
they did. They drafted Drake.
But like you say, after a really bad stretch, well, we're in a really bad stretch.
Yes.
And we've swung and missed at one quarterback after another. We've swung and missed on these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I just have zero faith that this regime is ever going to get to the point in time where they say, we've made it to the end of our rainbow. Here it is, our plan. Here it came to fruition.
I just think they can't. It's cool to say that it's 29 and we're going to punt on it. But the reality of the thing about football is it's the only sport where those 17 games mean more than people know. When you got to cover the team and you sit here after each one of those 17 games and them losses pile up, you can have all the even keel mindset and saying the right things.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Kevin Stefanski at one point in time when they told him, hey, listen, it's going to be one of them years. And then he's sitting there in an office with Jimmy Haslam at the end of the year and he's saying 5 wins ain't enough. That ain't gonna happen for you. So Andrew Berry, like he got the cards he got is the handiest dealt. But he still has to go into this draft and do exactly what he did to get playmakers in this one, or he gonna be at the same fate because they're gonna say, look, you know what it was. 5 wasn't good enough last year, so what makes you think you could get 5 again?
Which is perplexing to me why they didn't just change everything at once. Because when you change a head coach, your point on the horizon moves. And when you change general manager, your point on the horizon moves. Why do it in back-to-back years? If Andrew Berry doesn't hit another home run in the draft, and now you're changing your overall point on the horizon, your navigator, your general manager that's telling you where you're going. Now you're changing him again, and it slows everything down. That's where we are with this team. We just wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, and here we go again.